Most people never fail, they quit. Not in one loud moment, but slowly, silently, in the pause between one excuse and the next, in the space between almost and all in. They quit in the dark before the dawn. They quit on page 199 of a 200-page breakthrough. They quit not because they couldn't, but because their minds told them the lie that most people believe. This isn't working. But what if I told you that success doesn't come to those who work the hardest, or even the smartest? It comes to those who refuse to walk away, who stand toe-to-toe with fatigue, fear, and failure and say, "Not yet, I'm not done." Look at Thomas Edison. 10,000 failed experiments, 10,000 ways the light didn't turn on. Any sane man would have quit. He didn't, because he wasn't chasing results. He was living the process. He knew something most people never understand, that success is not found at the end of the road. Success is the road. And the ones who stay on it longest, no matter how rough, eventually find the gold buried beneath their feet. But the world is filled with people who confuse struggle with signal. They hit a wall and think it means stop. They face resistance and assume it means wrong direction. They don't realize that every challenge is a toll booth between who they are and who they want to become. Most people see the toll and turn back. The greats, they pay it. In time, in sweat, in uncertainty. In nights without applause and mornings without clarity, because clarity doesn't come first. Faith does. Belief is the fire starter. You light it with no proof the flame will hold, but it does. It always does, for the one who dares to believe long enough. That's why most people quit before success, because belief is cheap at the beginning and expensive later. It's easy to believe when it's still a dream, when it's all ideas, vision boards, and borrowed inspiration. But belief gets heavy when the work arrives, when you're tired, when no one's clapping, when your friends start asking if it's really worth it, and your own voice starts answering, maybe not. But belief, real belief, is forged, not found. It's a choice remade every morning, and the ones who remake it longest win. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper job because he lacked imagination. His first animation studio went bankrupt. Most would have taken the hint. He didn't, because he wasn't chasing permission. He wasn't asking if the world agreed. He was building something bigger than approval, a vision only he could see. And that's the next reason most people quit before success. They need validation. They need someone to say, "You're doing great." But greatness doesn't need permission. It needs conviction. Most people look around instead of within. They wait for signs, but visionaries create signs. They write the next chapter before the ink of failure even dries on the last. You want success? Detach from applause. Detach from timing. Detach from needing it to feel easy, because it won't. It shouldn't. Success is a privilege, and privilege never arrives without price, and the price is persistence. It's the ability to keep going through the drought, when the results don't match the effort, when the dream feels more like weight than wings, when it's all grind and no glory. Think of Lincoln. He lost 8 elections before becoming president, faced a nervous breakdown, buried a child, watched a nation split in two, but he never quit. He led with purpose, not popularity. He knew that delay doesn't mean denial, that destiny often arrives wearing the disguise of defeat. You have to keep showing up, even when the audience leaves, even when your mind rebels, even when the future blurs, because if you quit now, you'll never see what was waiting just one step later. Imagine digging for gold, inch by inch, mile by mile, and turning around inches before the breakthrough. Most people do, because pain confuses them. But pain is not the enemy. Pain is the gatekeeper. It stands between mediocrity and mastery, and it always asks the same question: how bad do you want this? If your answer is conditional, the door stays closed. If your answer is permanent, the path unfolds. This is the secret most never tell you. Success is not a destination, it's a test of how long you can keep building with no reward, how long you can believe with no applause, how long you can serve without certainty. And most people fail that test, not because they can't pass, but because they don't understand the rules. The rule is, the dream costs more than you thought, but gives back more than you imagined. The rule is, the goal gets further right before it gets close. The rule is, the pain is part of the promise, but only those who stay long enough ever realize it. You want to be one of them, then burn the exit plan. Stop rehearsing defeat and anchor yourself in the decision, not the feeling, not the momentum, not the motivation, the decision. Because there's a moment in every journey, quiet, private, unceremonious, where the future is decided, not in public wins, not in headlines, but in the dark, when you decide to keep going even though quitting makes more sense. That's the birth of success. That's where legends are born, not in the light, but in the refusal to run from the dark. The moment you decide to keep going, that is the dividing line between those who almost did and those who actually do, between the ones who tell stories about what could have been and the ones the world never forgets, because belief alone isn't enough, not if it's only loud when it's easy. Real belief isn't found in motivational quotes or morning hype. Real belief shows up when nothing else does. When your phone is silent, your inbox is empty, your bank account gasps for air, and still you build. Still you rise. Still you say, let's go again. Success is not what you do when you feel ready. It's what you refuse to stop doing when you don't. That's why most people quit. Not because the work is too hard, but because the waiting is too quiet. The road to success isn't noisy. It's lonely. It's filled with echo chambers where your doubts grow louder than the cheers ever did. It's paved with questions no one else can answer for you. But those who rise above that silence, they don't just succeed, they transform. You see, every successful person you admire walked through this fire. Henry Ford was laughed out of every room when he said he'd build a gasoline engine for the masses. They called it foolish. They called it fantasy. He called it the future. And he kept building until they called it history. That's the pattern. Visionaries are always mocked before they are admired. Every pioneer looks delusional until the map gets redrawn. And you right now, you're in the wilderness. You're staring at an invisible blueprint no one else can see. They'll question you, test you, even pity you. But let them watch. Because one day they'll remember the day you didn't quit. The world doesn't need another almost. It needs your completion. The business launched. The book written. The transformation lived and breathed. But that means you must master the internal game. Because success is not built in your circumstances, it's built in your standards. And most people keep quitting because they still accept the version of themselves that tolerates average. You want to stop quitting before success? Then raise your threshold. Raise what you're willing to endure. Raise what you demand of yourself. Burn the old metrics. You're not here to try your best. You're here to finish what you started, to crush the limitations you inherited, to become the ancestor your bloodline was waiting for. And that takes discipline, not the glamorous kind that people clap for, but the quiet kind, the kind that wakes up before the alarm, the kind that trains when no one's watching, the kind that chooses clarity over comfort, focus over fun, long-term over likes. Discipline is devotion made visible, and most people quit because they never built it. They chased motivation, but motivation is emotion. Discipline is structure. One crumbles in the storm. The other becomes your shelter. So build that structure. Design your day with the precision of an architect. Every hour has a purpose. Every block of time becomes a brick in your empire. Because if you don't schedule your dream, the world will schedule your distraction. Build routines that resist excuse. Routines that don't rely on feeling like it. If you only move when you feel ready, you'll die waiting. If you only show up when you're confident, you'll miss every door that would have made you become confident. Confidence comes from doing it anyway. In the fear, in the fog, in the fatigue. Confidence is just proof that you kept showing up when most people would have folded. And now let's talk about pain, because pain is coming either way. The pain of progress or the pain of regret. The pain of pushing yourself or the pain of wondering, what if I hadn't quit? Most people run from pain, but success-minded people, they run through it because they've learned. Pain is not punishment. It's permission. It's the permission to rise above who you were, to become someone you've never met before. Let it burn off the weakness. Let it humble the ego. Let it teach you what comfort never could. And then there's rejection, the silent killer of dreams, the unanswered email, the ignored pitch, the investor who walks, the client who ghosts. Most people quit because they think rejection means you're not good enough. But rejection often means you're getting closer. It's friction, and friction creates fire. It's evidence that you're stretching past what's safe. The most successful people in the world, they've been rejected more times than you've tried. They're not luckier. They're just more willing to be ignored on their way to being remembered. And that's the truth. Most people quit because they're still addicted to comfort, addicted to praise, addicted to instant reward. They want the outcome without the internal upgrade. But you are not most people. You've come too far. You've survived too much. You've outlived old versions of yourself that most wouldn't recognize. Now it's time to step into the fire and let everything that's not you burn. Because this isn't just about success, it's about identity. You're not here to finish one project. You're here to become someone who finishes everything they start. Someone who doesn't flinch when it gets hard. Someone who builds when everyone else is watching Netflix, blaming politics, or scrolling their life away. You're here to become the one who didn't quit, and that means every time you feel like breaking, you build. Every time you feel like retreating, you rise. And one day the results will show, not just in your bank account, but in your posture, in your peace, in the silence that once made you anxious but now sounds like power, because that's what success feels like. It feels like peace earned through fire. It feels like certainty born from chaos. It feels like standing tall while others kneel to their doubts. So don't quit. Not today, not when you're this close. Keep walking, keep believing, keep showing up, because most people quit before success. But you're just getting started. You're still here, and that alone means you're not like most, because most would have stopped by now, closed the tab, shrunk back into safety. You didn't. You're still leaning forward, eyes lit, soul awake, spirit pounding. That's what it takes. You see, success isn't granted all at once. It's given in installments. And every test you pass, every fear you stare down, every voice of doubt you override is another installment paid. Most people want to collect before they've deposited. But you're making the deposits no one sees. And that's exactly why your day is coming. But now comes the next chapter. The part that separates those who succeed and those who stay successful. It's called gratitude. Not the soft Instagram version, but the raw, high-performance kind. Gratitude isn't weakness. It's weaponry. It's the mindset that allows you to endure without entitlement, to hustle without bitterness, to push without poison. Because if you can't appreciate the small wins, you'll never recognize the big ones when they arrive. You'll be so addicted to the next milestone, you'll miss the miracle happening in the present. The miracle that you're alive, that you're learning, that you're building, that you're being sculpted, even now, into a version of yourself you haven't met yet, but who's already rooting for you. Gratitude isn't about feeling lucky. It's about feeling ready for more, because you've proven you're a steward, not just a seeker. You've shown the universe that you're not just asking for success, you're preparing for it. And when you live like that, success has no choice but to arrive. But the moment you think you're done growing is the moment you start dying. That's where adaptability comes in, because the world changes fast, markets shift, opportunities vanish. The strategies that worked yesterday might betray you tomorrow, but the principles, the ones Napoleon Hill etched into stone, those never fail. Faith, definiteness of purpose, persistence, the ability to pivot with power instead of panic. The most successful people are not the most rigid, they are the most responsive. They don't complain about the storm, they become the storm. They don't resist change, they ride it like a wave and redirect it toward their vision. When COVID came, some froze, some waited for normal, but others adapted. They turned garages into boardrooms, Zoom calls into empires. They didn't panic, they adjusted, because success doesn't belong to the smartest or strongest. It belongs to the ones who can move fast without losing focus. You want to stop quitting before success? Then stop resisting change. Use it, study it, leverage it. Let it sharpen you into something the past version of you wouldn't even recognize. And when change brings pain, and it will, you meet it with resilience. Resilience is not bouncing back, it's bouncing forward. It's standing up with more wisdom, not just more scars. It's taking hits and turning them into history. Nelson Mandela once said, "I never lose. I either win or I learn." That's resilience. That's the unbreakable mindset of someone who's decided they cannot be stopped. But where does resilience come from? It doesn't come from talent. It doesn't come from status. It comes from purpose. Purpose is the root system of resilience. Without it, you break. With it, you bend, then come back stronger. Purpose isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a whisper. Sometimes it's buried beneath debt, anxiety, heartbreak, and a calendar full of obligations. But it's still there, and it's your job to uncover it. Ask yourself, what would I still pursue, even if no one clapped? What work makes time disappear? What vision keeps me up at night and drags me out of bed in the morning? That's your purpose. And when you lock onto it, quitting no longer makes sense. Not because the pain disappears, but because the pain finally means something. You're not suffering blindly. You're sacrificing with intent, and that changes everything. When Carnegie donated 90% of his fortune to build libraries, schools, and institutions, he wasn't giving away wealth. He was distributing meaning, because purpose expands past self. It outlives bank accounts and headlines. It becomes legacy. That's what you're building now. Not just success, but significance. And significance takes longer. It's harder, but it lasts. So when fear comes back, and it will, remind yourself, you've been here before, and you didn't quit then. You don't need to feel brave to be brave. You don't need to be certain to move forward. You just need to decide that you're not most people, that you're not here to entertain your limitations, that you're done begging for proof and ready to become the proof, because success doesn't show up for the interested. It shows up for the invested, and you've already paid too much to stop now, not just in time, but in identity, in who you've become along the way, in what you've lost, in what you've learned, in what you've earned. This is not the time to doubt. This is the time to double down. So reframe your failure, redraw your path, reignite your belief, refuse to quit again, and let every setback become a signal that you are still in the arena, still worthy of the fight, still connected to a destiny bigger than you can even picture right now. So keep going, not because it's easy, but because you're evolving. And every time you choose not to quit, you prove to the world and to yourself that you are not most people. You've made it this far, and that is rare. Not just because most people quit before success, but because most never realized they were already becoming successful when they walked through the pain. See, you don't become a winner when you get the result. You become a winner the moment you decide you will not stop without it. That's the moment you break the curse, the moment you rewrite the legacy, the moment you draw the line and say, this ends with me. The quitting ends here. Because your family might not have finished what they started. Your friends might still be talking about what they almost did. But you are here to finish. You are here to rise. You are here to build the discipline your bloodline never had, to create the wealth your parents only dreamed of, to unlock the power that's been sitting inside you, waiting for permission. This is your permission. This is your time. But the truth is, it will never feel like the time. It will never be perfect. There will always be noise. There will always be doubt. There will always be a reason to stop. But there will also be one reason not to. And that one reason is everything. That reason is your why, your future self, your unfinished story, your kids, your name, your mark on this earth. You are not just building a business, you're building an example. You are not just chasing wealth, you're chasing freedom. You are not just putting in the hours, you are refusing to die with regret. So when your body aches, when your bank account stalls, when your heart cracks in silence, don't stop. Success will not come to you gently. It will come through your defiance, through the nights when you kept writing, the mornings when you kept showing up, the seasons when you believed alone. Because faith is not what you say. It's what you prove when the odds are whispering, quit. They told Lincoln to give up. He kept leading. They told Edison to stop. He kept creating. They told Oprah she wasn't right for television. She kept speaking. They told you that you're dreaming too big. Now let them watch you wake up and build it. Because the dream only becomes reality when you refuse to let go. Yes, it will take longer than you thought. Yes, it will be harder than you hoped. Yes, it will hurt deeper than you prepared for. But on the other side of that struggle is everything you were born to become. You will cry. You will question. You will want to disappear. But hear this. Every time you want to quit is a sign you're close. The fear gets loudest right before the shift. The doubt gets sharpest right before the breakthrough. The resistance gets unbearable right before you snap the chain. So when that happens, and it will, smile. Because that means you're near. Most people quit because they mistake that pain for a wall. But it's not a wall, it's a door. And all you have to do is keep pushing. Push with your belief. Push with your effort. Push with your clarity. Push with your silence. Push with your faith. Push until the hinge gives way and you walk through to the version of yourself that's already been waiting on the other side. The one who never left. The one who knew this moment would come. The one who smiles and says, I knew you had it in you. So stop waiting for signs. You are the sign. Stop waiting for timing. You are the time. There is no perfect opportunity. There is no ideal moment. There is only now. Right now. Right now you decide if this ends as another chapter of almost or the beginning of everything you were meant to be. Right now you choose to press forward or to become a footnote in your own story. Don't settle. Don't shrink. Don't delay. Don't quit. You were not born to quit. You were born to become the one who rose anyway, who built the empire anyway, who kept going when it didn't make sense, who carved belief out of nothing but faith and fire. And when the world looks back, it won't remember what you almost did. It will remember what you finished. So let this be the day you draw the line. No more quitting, no more stalling, no more pretending. Stand up, speak out, build now. The next version of your life is waiting. And so is the world. You've heard the voice long enough. Now it's time to become the voice. Say it loud. Say it clear. Say it like it's already done. I am not most people. I do not quit before success. I finish. And from this moment on, your life will echo that truth every single day.